At the well, we've always been about people coming to know Christ for the first time, saying yes to Him and embracing Christ. By faith, following Him wherever He calls us to go. We are a people who are following Jesus together for the good of the world.
Over the last 5 years, I would say that the well has moved us to say yes in several areas, which is community, leadership, and caring for vulnerable families.
So one way that I've said yes to Jesus is through the student ministry.
One of the ways that we have said yes to God, we weren't really going into a lot of Bible study meetings, and so I had to give up some of my time, which was very difficult at first, and I think that was the first recollection of saying yes to God.
Cameron and I actually had the opportunity to get involved with DC 127, which is a nonprofit and a ministry partner of the Wells. By getting connected and trained, we were able to host 4 children over the course of a year in our home.
I was just fascinated by the idea that I could learn the scripture by teaching it to the kids. And in the conversations and in the questions that came from the kids, really I learned a whole new appreciation for how I needed to understand the gospel.
God has been really faithful to perfect His power through our weaknesses and inadequacies.
In 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 8 says that everything He calls us into, He will provide. And we are certain that He is calling us into a permanent space here in Silver Spring that we might be a gospel outpost for generations to come. Man, can you imagine if we had space to use every Sunday and prepare it for the discipleship of our kids? And can you imagine if we had space to use throughout the week to offer classes both to our body for discipleship and to the community for outreach? And can you imagine if we had a space to train church planter after church planter and send team after team with the gospel? We're compelled by what God might do if we would say yes to Him in this obedience. We're seeking Him for $1.5 million that He might drop this grace on us, that we could be here permanently in Silver Spring, sinking roots for the sake of the gospel for generations to come. So what I want you to do is first just to pray. Sit before the Lord and ask Him, what is He asking you to give in this time? Second, would you say yes? On May 23rd, would you give a generous one-time kind of kickstart gift towards the work of the gospel here and finding a permanent location for the well? And then would every one of us, 100% of us, commit to giving over and above our general giving, saying yes to the Lord? And then third, would you celebrate? Would you just sit back and see the Lord provide a permanent space for us and rejoice that you had a part in the work of the gospel? I just cannot wait to see what He does when each of us seek the Lord, say yes to Him, and then celebrate the great work He has prepared for us as the Well Community Church.